Our filmmakers, everybody. So I'd love to start if each of you would just introduce yourselves, tell us which film you worked on, and sort of what inspired the project.
My name is Wesley, and what inspired the project, spirit culture that is all the people in the documentary I know closely. I didn't get introduced to anyone, and I love all of them. And I knew that they believed in spirits beforehand, and they all inspire me.
Hi everybody, my name is Aldo, and my film was Soila. So the film is about Soila, who is a single mother. She's an immigrant. She came from Ecuador, and it's about her struggles raising her two children without their father. And so she has her older son, Joseph, who he went on to work for an internship helping other immigrants, and then he also went on to graduate from University of Albany. And yeah, so showing the success of her children and how she was able to help them with that.
Yeah, and it was a really incredible film, so I highly recommend everyone checking it out.
Hello, my name is Helson, and I did Wangs. What inspired me to do Wangs? It's pretty simple. I really like chicken wings, so I decided to make a documentary about that. And also, I just wanted to explore different aspects of filmmaking and seeing how I would do making a documentary.
Hi, my name is Kaya, and my film was Contrast. My film was about the Black experience at PWI's predominantly white institutions. And as someone who has gone to a predominantly white school for almost my whole life, I really wanted to hear other people's stories and other people's perspectives who have been in the same place as me. So I had the opportunity of interviewing these amazing students and hearing their stories, and I was able to hear similarities with my experience, but also hear their own independent experiences. And yeah, it was a blast. I love making it.
This is not objective information. The bubble is objective.
And each of you worked with a mentor, so would some of you mind just telling us maybe something that you learned from your mentor, what that process was like?
My mentor is Amelia Dallas, and I remember the first interview I did, I was extremely nervous, and I texted her before and I had no idea what to do. I'm really nervous about this. And she told me that even though I had a concrete vision of what my film was to be, I should just let that go in the interview and just let them do what they want to do, let them say what they want to say. And I let that happen. I let them talk instead of controlling the interview. And I discovered that that's my favorite part of documentary filmmaking, is just the collaboration, watching someone make the film you want to make without forcing it, So.
Did, in any of the interviews with that in mind, did you discover something you didn't already know about someone that ended up in the film then?
Yeah, in fact, the aunt who lost her niece, I never knew that before, and that was probably the best moment of the film. Definitely the best moment of the filmmaking experience. That was such a emotional moment. So yeah, a lot of stuff I didn't know about them that they shared. Really.
My mentor was Alex, and I feel like throughout the process, I feel like he taught me a lot when it came to documentary filmmaking, because himself, he has a lot of experience with that, and I feel like what he helped me with the most was during the editing process and cutting down interviews and figuring out how to organize it and which parts should stay and which parts should go. He really helped me when it came to finding the root and the point that she's trying to make and what she's saying, and getting that into the documentary so that people could see that and hear that.
How many hours of interview footage did you have that you had to cut down?
It wasn't too long. It was an hour of interview, but I spent a really long time cutting it down. I was editing 3 times a week for like 2 hours, you know, and that was going on for like weeks, you know.
Totally, yeah. It's amazing how many different films you could make out of that 1 hour too, I'm sure.
So my mentor was Shirley Williams, and she also works in documentary as well. And she kind of taught me to go with the flow. I'm a stickler, and so that's not really the first time that someone has told me that. But she just kind of taught me how to like deal with my mistakes and make the best out of them. And so like there was like one huge curveball where I had a whole set of other interviews with a bunch of other students, and my mic was actually broken. And so that was really difficult because that was like 4 interviews and that was like hours worth of film that was gone. And she kind of helped me through that and was like just kind of taught me how to make the best out of what interviews I did get. And I did get amazing interviews and I interviewed really awesome people. So yeah, I'm really grateful for her for that because that would have been really stressful alone.
I mean, that's incredibly stressful. Were you able to redo any of them, or was that just lost for?
No, it was like in the nick of time. So I also the people who I interviewed were far away, so it was kind of like difficult to just find another time. Like I remember I was interviewing one of them at like 12 o'clock at night. Like it was really like it was a little bit ridiculous. Like I was just I was trying to get all the media that I could get. But I still think it turned out into an amazing film, and I'm really grateful for those people for lending me their time, even though it wasn't able to make it into the film. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mentor was Stephanie Walter, and she helped me really guide the film. She helped me pace the film, and I feel like one thing that she really helped me with is like kind of not going against, but like kind of like testing my ideas, testing what I wanted to do. She would like question me. She would be like, why ask the specific questions? Why are you going to record this? Or why are you going to include this? And kind of she made sure that everything I did was intentional, and I think that was very useful because it made me really understand what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it, and it gave me a clear vision of the path I wanted to take. So yeah.
Yeah, and those some really lyrically beautiful moments. Actually, in all 4 films, you all have some really nice moments where you sort of let music take over, and the pacing is really strong. Some of you talked about challenges. Was there any other sort of unexpected, challenging things that happened in the making of the film? Anything else that you might want to talk about?
I guess when I first started editing, and just similar to Helson, looking at like the amount of footage I had, I just like couldn't imagine editing it all down into like a sequence. But Ebony actually helped me with this. Just like she told me to take one step at a time, sort of. Like do what you can with what you have. Don't like rush to a conclusion or sort of make the scope smaller in a way of like the goal you want to complete in the editing session. So, yeah.
So I remember our like deadline date was like in June, and I was recording the whole way up until June because I felt like it wasn't complete, and I just kept like as I was recording, I would put things in, and I also had a lot of footage. I think my interview footage was like 3 hours. I recorded a lot of interviews, like I did re-recordings. Also like some of the locations that I recorded at, I had to travel to, so I traveled to Washington to visit Joseph, and I also traveled to Albany for his graduation, so that was another challenge. And yeah, just recording like to the very last minute was I think was a challenge, but I got through it.
I feel like the biggest one for me was probably like B-roll, and figuring out when to put what and like what would apply to certain scenarios, Like I didn't really expect putting like so much thought into that, but like I feel like I'm glad I did because I was able to find like I guess points where like when she was speaking and like what B-roll would fit with that.
It's a universal challenge for all filmmakers.
Yeah, the mic broken, the technical difficulties, that's just always something. I mean, film is all about the technology, and so when it kind of fails you sometimes, it's like, you gotta figure out what to do, but you gotta just work through it and make do with what you have, so, yeah.
And I've heard that you've all had long journeys with RealWorks. Do you mind sort of telling us, what sorts of programs you've worked with and, what your RealWorks journeys have been like?
I started off with RealWorks in the experimental filmmaking lab, and then from there I did the doc lab. I feel like I really haven't been with RealWorks like too long, you know. But I feel like with what I did, it was all like very productive stuff, and I feel like I learned a lot and got a lot of experience, and I'm pretty grateful for all that.
It's really amazing to me that I actually started with Real Works last summer 2021, with the experimental lab with Helson. And right after that, I kind of really fell in love with the community, and I did the doc lab as well. And then during that process, I became a youth ambassador with Real Works, and I was able to practice networking and like event planning, which is I'm really grateful for. And so that's been a really awesome experience as well. And then I was able to be a peer mentor for the experimental lab for this summer, so it's kind of like a full circle moment. But I really love it here, and I really love the community, I really love the people. So yeah.
It's great.
I've just done the documentary lab. That's it. But I applied for the narrative lab, so let's see how that goes.
Cool.
I've been with Real Works for about 2 years. I did the first documentary lab fall of 2020 it started, and then in fall of 2021 is when I started the advanced documentary lab for this documentary. And then I've been a peer mentor for our support summer lab this past summer. So, and then I've been pretty active in Real Works. I go often. I'll be going to apply for the narrative lab, so to continue with Real Works.
Great. And I want to make sure we have time for the audience questions. Does anyone have anything they'd like to ask? And I think we have some microphones down by the front on both sides.
I wanted to ask Aldo. Why did you believe that it was important to take this point of view or this perspective of Zoila for your film?
Like, why did I?
Yeah, was there anything that motivated you to like pick the story of a woman or like a single mother?
Yeah, I see. So I grew up with a single mother. It was just I remember just being me and my mom for a very long time. Luckily I have a stepfather now. Things have turned around, but her younger son Justin, he's my best friend. I've known him since I was 10, and just seeing him and his brother succeed, yet even without their father, I think was very motivating. And I always think about how they never really needed him. That all they had was their mother, and I feel like that's all they needed. And I wanted to pick the point of view of telling her story, because I felt like she's a very strong woman, very powerful woman, and I felt like her story was she deserved to. People have to hear her story. I feel like her story had to be told, because not only is she an immigrant, but she's a single mother, and then even on top of that, she's sacrificed so much just for her kids, for the love of her kids, and that's mainly her driving factor. And I feel like it was a very beautiful story.
I think we have a question in the way back.
Yeah, so my question's for Nelson. So I just wanted to know
And
how.
sorry, maybe if we could get him.
I mean, I can just talk about it. Where did you find Wangs?
Where did you find Wangs?
I found Wang's in Union Street in Brooklyn. I found it during my time in the experimental doc lab, and throughout that time, when it was lunchtime, I would go and eat Wang's, and through that, I really liked and I fell in love with the food. And when I started in the documentary, I was like, damn, I should make a documentary about this place. 'Cause, like, it's great, and it's like right next to Real Works too.
Did you know that she'd been on Top Chef when you decided to make the film about her?
No, I didn't. I figured that out through like making research and like speaking to her as well. I feel like it was really nice knowing that, and I feel like it added a lot to the documentary.
Yeah, it was a fun twist, fun surprise.
This question is for Kaya. Here you go, Kaya. Oh,
For Kaya.
sorry.
I thought I had a loud voice, but I guess not. So the students that you interviewed, do they attend your school, or are they from a variety of schools in the neighborhood?
Yeah, so all the students that I interviewed or that made it into the film go to my school. The set of interviews that I lost, they went to Dalton and Trinity. So I wanted to have like a more diverse group of like students who went to different schools. But I was able to get these completely new perspectives because all these students were in different grades. They weren't the same grade as me. So I was able to get their different perspectives with their grades. And yeah.
Thank you. We have time for one more question here.
Looks like we have someone very eager in the middle here. Oh, sorry.
First.
I think the question is, how did you find real works?
I remember seeing it at school. My film teacher, Mr. Harkole, he was telling me a lot about it, and I remember there was also a Zoom presentation in like the beginning of the year talking about like all the stuff that RealWorks offered, and I think I saw it on the internet too at one point. But yeah.
I learned about RealWorks through my French tutor. He is an actor, and he found out that I had a love for film. And so he referenced me here, and he realized like we had like the same values. It was like everything that I'm really interested in, and so he referenced me here, and I haven't left. So yeah.
The day that applications were due for the documentary lab, Abby, the director, came to my school. So it was like a very stressful rush to apply.
I also found it through school. I was in high school at the time, and yeah, I remember them coming to the schools to recruit students.
Awesome.
One more question here, Justin.
Okay, cool. Yeah, one more.
Hi, good evening, and congratulations, first of all. Very impressive work from all of you. So you all talked a little bit about what you learned about the filmmaking process. I'd like to know what you learned about yourselves going through this process.
Great question.
Something that I learned about myself that I thought was kind of odd was that while I was editing, I remember that I would be like very emotional while I edit, you know? Like sometimes I would get very frustrated if I cut something too short or after like rewatching something and I didn't really like how it was like flowing, I would like be like, damn, and I would like keep on going and like re-edit it and stuff. And I was kind of surprised within myself, like how long I was actually editing for. You know, like I didn't think I would really be able to focus on something for so long, but like I was able to do that. So I think that was pretty nice.
I discovered that I love documentary. I initially wanted to go straight to the narrative lab, but Abby recommended that you go to the documentary lab first and then the narrative. But I love documentary. I learned a lot about documentary that I think of documentary as like the social dilemma, like bare bones, just sort of like boring in that sense, but you can get really experimental, I learned. So yeah, I love documentary now.
One thing that I learned is that filmmaking and like editing is like very therapeutic for me. I found it like very relaxing, and I didn't really know if I'd be able to focus on it for such a long period of time. But I don't know, I think just because it was like a topic that I was really interested in and I just liked what I was creating and I felt like it mattered, I was able to commit, and it was honestly like a really nice, smooth-ish process, but yeah.
One thing I think I learned about myself is the standards I think I set for myself. As I was saying, I kept re-recording things because I felt like it wasn't ready, and I think a standard I set for myself is that if I'm not satisfied with it, I don't want it to be released. You know, everything I make, I think I want it to be the best what I can do, and I think I also have to like understand what I'm capable of and be realistic with myself. But so I try my best I can do within my limits.
And thank you all so much for sharing these really incredible films, and I think we're all very excited to see what you do next. So.